Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Ontario Time Attack e-racing series, Overtake the Apex, for our season finale, event number 6. Overtake the Apex is presented to you by Ontario Time Attack. As Ontario's premier grassroots time attack series, we love driving anything from straight out of the showroom cars all the way to purpose-built track machines. Come out and race against the clock with us. Find out more at time-attack.ca, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ontario Time Attack to keep up with our announcements. If you enjoy watching these videos, please help us out by giving us a like and smashing that subscribe button on the bottom right corner of the screen. Don't forget to hit the bell button to be alerted of new content on this channel as well. Many thanks to our partner and server host for tonight's event, Pinnacle Advanced Driving Academy. Operating out of Toronto Motorsports Park, they are a private track school that caters to both newbies who have never been to the racetrack, all the way to folks who participate in Time Attack and want more critical feedback to cut down those lap times. Check them out on Instagram at Pinnacle Driving Academy and their website www.pinnacledriving.com for more details. Don't forget to sign up using promo code SPRING25 before the end of April to receive $25 off. That's $25 off if you use promo code SPRING25. Ontario Time Attack is proudly sponsored by Automoves, dependable vehicle shipping, Toyo Tires, NV Auto, build, tune, race, repeat, GRP, Johnston Research and Performance, Mobile One. With 20 years of supporting OTA, we couldn't have made it where we are today without you, Mobile One. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And now for a quick public service announcement.
COVID-19 is a serious public health threat. All Canadians must act now to reduce the spread. Avoid crowded places and practice social distancing. Avoid non-essential travel and stay home as much as possible. Self-isolate if you may have been exposed to COVID-19. Stay connected with neighbors, friends, and family. When you take care of yourself, you take care of others.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Tonight's main event schedule is as follows. There's 30 minutes of practice time, which our drivers are currently in, followed by 15 minutes of qualifying time. Based on qualifying time, the drivers grid from fastest to slowest and given 15 minutes of race time for race number 1. Race number 2 will occur immediately thereafter, but this time drivers grid in reverse order based on the finishing order in the first race up to the 10th position. So if you finish first in race number 1, you start in 10th place for race number 2. Finish second in race number 1 means you'll start in 9th place for race number 2. As you can see in our points distribution chart on the right, points in the first race weigh more than the second race to prevent sandbagging. Being a time attack series, we also award points for top 3 qualifying times. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6, our season finale at Sebring International Raceway. First off, we'll take a look at the car our competitors will be racing. Tonight's season finale wraps up with a car that has seen heavy participation at our real-life time attack series, the Toyota GT86, also sold as a Subaru BRZ. As the official successor to the highly popular and idolized Toyota Corolla Sprinter Terreno, the AE86, it has a lot to live up to. The AE86, or 86 for short, was highly prized for its agility and is well known amongst the car community for its ability to make up what it lacks in raw power with its ability to rotate for corners. The new 86 lives up to its namesake by putting a priority on handling and its inherent design. Equipped with a Subaru-sourced Boxer engine, this 200 horsepower, 205 Nm power plant is mounted low in the chassis, giving a car a low center of gravity. Coupled with a finely tuned suspension and staying true to its rear-wheel drive roots, this car has refreshed Toyota's image to be a sports car manufacturer by finally bringing back a sports coupe into the family ever since the demise of Toyota Celica. Almost universally praised by drivers and journalists, the car isn't without its flaws, however. In today's day and age, there's always a raging debate whether 200 horsepower is adequate given there are minivans and SUVs that could outgun this coupe in a drag race. There is also the notorious issue of the torque dip, where the engine switches over between port and direct injection, adding a very noticeable drop in torque. Owners, on the other hand, will be too busy smiling and going sideways in the turns with a few relatively inexpensive modifications, turn this car easily into a track weapon that we see so much of in our real-life time attack series. The GT86 has officially cemented itself as one of the best bang-for-buck sports cars one can get in the world of track racing. So how will our competitors fare in the return to their roots from much higher-end vehicles from previous events? Before we get to that, let's introduce our special guests for tonight's turn-by-turn segment around North America's oldest permanent road racing facility, Sebring International Raceway. As only one of 7 Canadian drivers to race in the Kart Indy Series back in the 1990s, our special guest for tonight has won the 1998 U.S. Road Racing Championship in the GT3 class, as well as the 2003 24 Hours of Daytona in the SRP2 class. Since then, he has written no less than 9 books, helping drivers to learn and unlock their speed secrets, along with a podcast of the same name. He also runs a consulting business, Bentley Performance Systems, which focuses on improving the performance of individuals, teams, and organizations. Who better to go turn by turn around Sebring International Raceway than the one and only Ross Bentley. Welcome to the show, Ross.
Thank you. Sebring is an awesome track, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, so this is our last event of the season. All our competitors now are here at North America's oldest permanent road racing facility. Everyone's gunning for points, trying to vie for a podium finish. So everyone's lined up at the grid, and now they're looking down the track into turn 1. Now, on paper, that looks like a standard left-hand turn. Anything particular that you would warn or coach any new drivers on this?
So the trick with turn 1 is, it is a very, very fast corner, and it's extremely bumpy. Probably the bumpiest corner, well, that in turn 17 here, of any track in North America, maybe the world. So turn 1 is difficult because you've got this wall on the inside. It's much like a street circuit where you cannot see through the corner until you're already partway into the corner. And you really have to just trust that, okay, I'm going to turn in, carry a lot of speed in, and I got it. There is an apex, and you can see an apex cone up in the fence if you're watching for that kind of thing, and that's going to help you. But you then have to just really release the car off turn 1. And the big thing here again is trust the car, because it's really easy to overslow for this corner. You're going to brake probably in most cars past the bridge, and a lot of times it's not a matter of how late you brake, it's how light you brake. And in fact, a lighter braking is going to keep the car better balanced. Therefore, it's going to have more grip, and you're going to be able to flow speed to the corner. Mistake that a lot of drivers make is they slow the car down, thinking kind of the in slow out fast mode. They overslow the car, then have to reaccelerate it, and that whole weight transfer, load transfer, change of balance of the car, it takes grip away from the car. So, turn 1 is, I'm going to say, one of the 3 most important corners on this track.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. So now you're coming out of turn 1, a little bit of straightaway to slight right for turn 2. But from what I can see, turn 2 going to 3, 4, and 5, that really narrows down the track as well, doesn't it?
It does. And 2 doesn't exist. It's just a little bend in the straightaway. You kind of just got to get set up for the brake zone for 3. The big thing about 3 is there is no straightaway afterwards. So unlike a lot of corners where you're thinking, I got to get a good exit out of this corner, 3, it's more about how much speed can you flow into it while still making sure the car is set up in the right position to get through the little kink of 4 to get set up for turn 5. Turn 5 is critical that you get a good exit out of 5. So I think of 3, every time I come to 3, 4, 5, I think attack, attack, attack. I want to flow as much speed into 3 as I can, get hard on the throttle, flat through the little kink of turn 4, and then it's a break. And at 5, I always tell myself, patience. Just take a little, like you really hustled through 1, you've hustled the car through 3, and now you get to 5, and it's like, okay, be patient, a little break, get the car to turn, then get the power. And if you have that patience, you're going to get a better exit. If you don't have that patience, you're going to start to get in the throttle too soon, and halfway through the corner, you're going to have to lift out of the throttle. So it's all about having that patience as you're as you approach 5. At the same time, you have to still attack it. A lot of times drivers will come up to 5 and they won't be accelerating hard. So when they get to 5, they lift out of the throttle a little bit, and there isn't enough weight transfer in the car to help the car to rotate, to change direction. So if you're hard on the throttle in through 4, and then that little tiny short brake for 5 is a quick brake, loads the front end up, gets the car to rotate. Now the car is pointing on the right angle past the apex, not just at the apex, but at the right angle at the apex. So then you can get the full power and get a great run out of 5. And now you're just trying to get down to hairpin turn 7 as quick as you can.
Right, because you said to get the power out of 5, because 6, also known as Big Bend, is going to essentially one giant curve into 7, right?
Correct. In 6 is it's a straightaway. the biggest thing here is in a racing format is you get guys that are trying to pass on the right and some on the left, and it depends on the closing rates. So really got to have your eyes up in your big eyes, being aware of the mirrors, to be aware of the cars around you coming out of 5, because if the car is much quicker, could get a run around the outside and surprise you. So really keep your eyes open coming out of 5, and as you come through 6, you just let the car naturally drift out to the left-hand side to get set up for the braking zone for turn 7.
All right, now turn 7 looks like a pretty intricate turn because it's not quite exactly a true hairpin, even though it's called hairpin. It looks like it's two rights, really?
Well, it is. I mean, but really you drive it as one,
Okay.
and then the second little left-right kink it's flat. So once you get turned into 7 and you go back to power from there, you're flat all the way to turn 10 at that point. So that's your thinking when you get to turn 7. This is a corner that rewards late braking. It's also one that makes you pay the penalty if you brake too late. So it's finding that perfect spot where you can get on the brakes. And to me, what's critically important is when you apply the brakes, when you begin braking, you're already thinking about where am I going to end my braking. And typically in most cars, it's a little after the turn-in point and before the apex. So you're going to trail brake into this corner to get the car to rotate and get the car lined up. So a good acceleration run out of here. Again, hard initial braking, you probably start to ease out of the brake pedal just a little bit. And then as you get to the turn-in point, this is more of a crisp turn-in. It's not a turn 1 where you're going to kind of bend slowly with slow hands. This is a slow corner, so you want faster hands. So you want to turn the wheel a little quicker, crisper. As you're trailing off the brakes and the car lines up to the apex, and then it's squeezing the throttle, and you're going to use the apex curbing on the right, and then you're going to use all that curbing and maybe even a little bit of the dirt on the left-hand side, that little kink, and then you line up past the next curbing on your right-hand side. And then from there, all the way to 10, through the 8, 9 little bends in the straightaway, it's all about letting the car run as free as possible. So putting as little steering input in as you possibly can. Looking way ahead, thinking way ahead, and just letting the car kind of track where it wants so you're not scrubbing any speed through there. Surprising how much speed you could scrub off by not taking as straight a line as possible through those bends through there. So thinking about letting the car run free through those bends can actually pick you up a mile an hour or so on the approach into turn 10.
Wow, a mile an hour. Okay. So now, turn 10. Now you've coming in with a full head of steam going into 10. Looks like a pretty sharp right-hander. And then right after that is another left-hander 11. So would you sacrifice 10 for 11 or the other way around? Or is there any sacrifice at all?
I look at 10, 11, 12, 13. You have to look at that whole section.
Okay.
And 10, first of all, 10 looks a little tighter and slower than it really is. You can actually flow a little bit of speed into this corner. And it's going to depend on the car that you're driving. Some cars you're going to come through 10 and let the car track right out to the very left-hand edge of the road. And then you can still be flat, full throttle, all the way from there to the braking point for 13. Some cars, because you just don't have enough grip getting through that long left-hand turn 11, you have to sacrifice a little bit and not let the car track all the way out to the left-hand side exiting turn 10. You really need to experiment with that to find out. You do want to be, when you go to full throttle at 10, your goal is to be full throttle from there all the way to the brake zone for turn 13. And if that means sacrificing just a little bit of track at the exit of turn 10, maybe a car's width even, to then have the car set up so you don't have as sharp a turn around 11, that's usually a better compromise. So 10, again, is another of those corners where you can gain a little bit on the entry by braking late, but not too late. And then a nice, again, slow release of the brakes to trail the car in, to help the car turn into the apex in 10. Again, letting the car track out as you go back to full throttle. How far you go right up to the edge or not, just have to get a feel for how much grip level your car has. And then it's really eyes up, looking way ahead to get the car to flow flat all the way around turn 11. There's a piece of pavement that is the exit of pit lane when you use the short course with the pit lane in the infield there. And you actually want to use that. You want to let the car track out of 11 and get right onto that. It actually looks like you're going beyond the track limits, but you're kind of in that extra little bit of pavement from the pit exit, from that inside track or the short track, and then line up to get the car lined up for braking for 13. How the classic thinking is you want to get the car lined up so you're parallel with the curbing on the approach to turn 13 when you brake. But to do that, you're going to have to turn the car twice. And if you just allow the car to have a little bit of an angle towards coming through 12, if you have just a little bit of an angle in the car, so you're pointing at the turn-in point for 13, you will not be perfectly parallel with that curbing, but you'll be coming up to it, easing off, and then turning into 13 from the edge of the pavement, like right at the curbing. But again, the car hasn't been alongside parallel with that curbing. You're really coming in on a slight angle to it. And 13 tower turn is, I love that corner. I think it's one of the most important corners on this track. It's to me, one of the three, because I know you can carry a lot more speed through this corner than it looks like. And part of it is, again, it's bumpy, it's got many surface changes, but it's got a little bit of camber right tucked in close to the apex curbing. And if you get the car tucked right into that, you can actually turn in a little earlier than you think you should. But you trust the little bowl almost of the camber, the banking in the corner there to help you grip up, and then the car kind of turns in the center of the corner. A lot of corners you kind of initially turn in, and then as you're going past the apex, you're almost starting to unwind. This one is you kind of bend it in, and then it's almost like you tighten the wheel just a tiny, tiny little bit in the middle of the corner when you've got that little extra banking in the corner, kind of in that bowl. And then you open your hands, let the car out, and use all that curbing at the exit of 13. You want the car left side tires on that exit curbing and using every fraction of an inch that you got out there, because this is it's a pretty long straightaway from 13 to 15.
Yeah, so pretty much, okay, so it's 14 Bishop is not really, you don't even consider that kink, and that doesn't really affect anything in terms of a turn, is it?
And I can't think of a car I've never driven a car there where I've ever had to lift.
Okay.
Now, I should say that sometimes some cars on cold tires can get a little challenging through there. Some cars are very fast, and you got to be busy. You got to have the line absolutely perfect to get through there. Other cars, it's easy to be flat through there. So if you're finding that you're not flat through 14 Bishop's Bend, I think I'd work on making the line, just getting the line right. And it's really just a matter of kind of clipping that first apex, letting the car track out a little bit to the right, and then angle back in. Your goal is to have the car lined up straight braking as you approach turn 15, parallel with that curbing on the left-hand side. And that's important there, to then get the car lined up and straight braking there. And you're going to trail a lot of braking to 15, but that comes back to the line that you drive through 14.
Okay, so now coming into 15 and then linking that up with 16, what's your approach on that one then?
Well, 15, 16, a lot of people say that 16's, the most important corner on the track because it leads on the longest straightaway. It's absolutely very, very important. However, I'm not going to say it's easy. I don't think there is an easy corner at Sebring. That's what makes it such a wonderful circuit. But it's not the most challenging corner on the track. Having said that, 15, 16 is, it's going to get your attention. Come into 15, again, leave your braking as late as you can, but thinking about it as a brake zone, as, I'm going to begin braking here, but I'm going to end my braking almost into the apex curbing on your right-hand side. So you got to think about it as that's a zone, and you can move the whole zone in or out depending on what you need to do, how quickly your car can slow down, and how much load you need on the front end while you're turning into 15. 15 is all about corner entry speed. It's not an exit speed corner. It's about getting the car carrying as much speed into 15 as you can, and then kind of sometimes we'll call it 15A, 15B, the little left-hand kink between 15 and 16. that is, if you're going to sacrifice anything, you sacrifice that little section in the middle. You want to hustle, you want to be at full throttle, but then your next job is just to get set up for 16. So you're going to come around that left-hand curbing in between 15 and 16. You want to have the tires clipping at the end of that curbing so that you come over and now you're going to move the car over off the pavement and onto the concrete. Do you put all 4 tires over there or just 2 tires over there? I'm going to say to start off with 2 tires, but definitely straddle that concrete to pavement section there and have at least your left side tires on the old concrete runway section before you turn into 16 to get the maximum radius there. And again, some cars you can actually get all 4 tires over there to get the entire car over in the concrete to get the car to turn. What you're playing with there is the trade-off between the radius in 16, which is the larger radius is going to make you faster, but to move way out there, you're carrying a lot more distance. You're driving a lot more distance. So there's a trade-off there that you're trying to work out, and you've got to try some laps where you move the car way out there and see, okay, better radius, I'm carrying more speed, but that extra distance costs me time. Or maybe it's you haven't moved it out there enough, and sure, you're driving a shorter distance, but you don't have a big enough radius to get through 16 carrying as much speed as possible. So it's all about that trade-off of distance versus radius there. And then as you approach 16, you're going to need to give a little brush dab of the brakes. And part of it is to take a little bit of speed off, but more importantly, it's to get the front end loaded. So as you turn in, the car will then turn, and you want to get the car lined up as you turn in so that you're clipping past that apex with the right side tires on the apex curbing of 16. And then just, again, letting the car run free, opening your hands, unwinding the wheel, letting the car drive right out, and having the left side tires right on that curbing. You need to be all over that curbing of the left side tires coming out onto the back straight, because your job there is just to carry maximum momentum through 16, but to get to full throttle as soon as possible so that you get a great run down into 17.
Right.
The second most important corner on this track, or maybe first.
Right. 17's last but not least, Sunset Bend. So a lot of people tell me this is the trickiest corner off the track, and one of the trickiest in the world, probably even. What's your take on this?
Yeah, for sure, it is one of the trickiest corners. And what I love about 17 is it's a corner with it's got character. And to me, character corners have multiple ways to get through it. 17, there isn't like that is the line that you drive. You need to kind of find out which line your car likes. Part of it's going to depend on how well it brakes, what kind of core grip it has, what kind of acceleration capabilities it has, and most importantly, how it handles the bumps. If your car handles the bumps well, you can kind of place the car on whatever line you want. But if you've got a car that tends to skitter around on the bumps and doesn't handle the bumps as well, then part of your job is actually picking your way through the bumps. It's almost like you're driving off-road and in dirt, and you're just trying to find the smoothest line. Typically, you're going to come down the back straight. Most cars, not all, but most cars, you can actually turn in, then brake. So it's you don't brake, then turn in. It's actually you just give a little initial turn so that you turn the car in and clipping the end of, just passing by the end of the wall on your right-hand side and having the car on that angle. So you kind of angle it in at a 20-degree angle or so, but you turn in, you kind of have almost a straight line, but it's not quite straight, a little bit of wheel, but mostly straight, and then you apply the brakes as you're going past the end of the wall on your right-hand side. And then it is slowly easing out as you're tracking in and trying to tighten up the radius just a little bit. You want to look towards the bridge. Up on the bridge, there is a little mark. There's a paint mark on the bridge. And even in the sim world, that paint mark is there. You'll find something on the bridge that will tell you, I'm pointed in the right direction. And when you get the car to come in and you nice slow off the brakes and you're looking and you're lined up underneath the bridge, you go, okay, I'm going back to throttle. This is a corner that you can't just go whack back on the throttle. You're going to need to feed in, feed in, feed in, feed in. And if you're in the right place and the bumps don't upset the car too much, you just continue to feed in. And the way I look at turn 17 to exit it is, because you're on the bumpiest part of the track, you want the car to point in as straight as you can. So there's a moment in there, just a fraction of a second, where I actually open my hands up, and it's like I drive straight towards the wall at the exit. And I drive straight to it, and I'm flat to the floor, bouncing over the bumps. And then as I get closer to the wall, you know, I don't have as much load in the car anymore, and the track is not quite as bumpy. So I can actually tighten up the wheel, just the steering just a little bit more, and make my last little bit of turn just in the last, maybe 2 or 3 cars lengths away from the end of the, or from the wall. You then maybe have to tighten up the wheel just a little bit to get on the right arc to drive it out onto the straightaway. And, you know, the track, the wall does kind of bulge out a little bit and then come back in. You want to use every inch of that, just with traction. I mean, you want to have the car right up there. And again, just using up all of that to carry the maximum momentum and speed out onto the front straightaway. You really need to get your eyes up in 17. It's really difficult to, and it's tempting for your eyes to kind of drop down and start to pick out where the bumps are and all that kind of stuff, but you need to trust, you know, where they are, and then get your eyes up. And to me, it's all about, you know, as I'm coming in there, I'm picturing the start finish line and going, I've got to get there, because that's where this thing, either my lap time starts and ends, or this is where the race ends. And it's just like, I've got to get there. I've got to get to that finish line. I've got to get to that finish line. And with that mindset, it's like my body says, okay, guys, let's do this. Let's get this right, and just really hustle the car out of there. But for sure, 17 is, to me, 17 and 1 are what makes Sebring Sebring. It is one of the most challenging racetracks in the world because of the surface changes. You would think that because it's pretty much flat, you know, there's no big elevation changes, you know, how interesting would that be? Well, I think it's one of the most interesting tracks in the world because of all the surface changes. And, you know, there are no corners on this track that are a classic 90 or 180 degree corner. Everything's got some kind of a weird twist and bend to it. Again, it's what makes this place so wonderful.
There's one lap around Sebring. So, quick question. For someone that's essentially, given this is the last race of a series and, you know, people are fighting for podium points, what would you coach a young driver in a race scenario for this? What would you tell him essentially right before he leaves, then Jordan gets himself put on the grid?
So, well, the first thing I'd say is what I always make as my last thing I say is have fun, because sometimes I think we get so caught up in the competition of these things. I don't care whether you're getting paid $1 million to win this thing. You can get overly focused on I got to win. And if you really focus on, I have to have fun, and having fun is just really focusing on doing everything right. So really focusing on my performance, and the likelihood of me performing at a higher level and therefore getting the result of winning goes up. But if I'm so caught up in the, I gotta win, there's points, all this kind of stuff, you know, the pressure puts on, I get overly focused on the result, and 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna drive my best. So the first thing would be, I'd just say, just drive, have fun. Sebring is a great racetrack. So because there are so many good passing opportunities, turn 1 for you know, first place is where you can first start to think about passing. The biggest thing here is the track is so wide, it's tempting that if you move to the inside to pass somebody, it's tempting to move in too far. So it's really important that you keep the car, you know, to me, you know, if there's a fraction of an inch between cars, perfect. You've taken control of that corner, and worst case, if the guy does turn into you, it's a minor little bump. If you are over 3 car widths away from that driver and that driver turns in and hits you, it's a big crash. So you want to be as close as you possibly can. Plus, that puts you on the maximum radius that you can be on to carry your speed through 1. So think about that if you're passing somebody into turn 1, and obviously vice versa, if you're being passed there. If somebody moves way to the inside, think about it. They've just compromised the radius of the corner. They may have the inside, but you may be able to get a run on them coming out of 1 to then either repass them down into, or possibly pass them back down into turn 3. Turn 3 is a good passing zone. It's not a great passing zone. It's a good one. Meaning, if you've got the pace, if you're really confident that you can outbrake another car, and you're close enough, you can pop out, come down the inside, pass somebody. Every now and then you see somebody try to stick a pass on the inside coming into 5 through between coming out of 3 around 4, and they just stuff it in the inside. I'm going to say 90% of the time, maybe 98% of the time, those don't work. So that wouldn't be my first place to think about making a pass. I would rather think about, okay, have a little more patience in 5 and just get set up for a monster exit at a 5 and set somebody up to outbrake them into the hairpin. Obviously, it's a classic outbraking maneuver into the hairpin. And the flip side of that is, if you overshoot on the passing, the braking, and you go too deep, you've opened up the opportunity for the over-under kind of a pass where somebody comes back under and passes you, or gets a better run and gets a pass back into turn 10. Turn 10 is a great passing zone on the brakes into there. Between 10 and 13, there has to be a fairly significant speed differential between cars for that to make it work. Again, every now and then you see somebody try to stuff it in the inside of turn 13 in that very short little brake zone for 13. It can work, but there has to be probably a little cooperation between drivers, or a big enough differential in speeds between the cars. Again, you're better off most times to have a little patience on the entry, get a better exit off of 13 than the car you're trying to pass, and get a run on them so that you can get you're right on the tail of the other car in front of you as you come through Bishop's Bend 14, and then you can just kind of pop out to the right and stuff it into the inside of 15 and take 15 away. It's a short brake zone, and anytime you have a short brake zone, there isn't a lot of time to make an out braking maneuver. But because you've got good momentum, if you've got it close, you got your car close to the other car, and you time it just right, you can kind of just pop out, stuff it in the inside, take that corner away. Then your job is you got to get a focus. You have to focus on getting a good run out of 16. If you mess up 15 so bad that it hurts your 16, you're likely to get passed back down the back straight. So 16 is all about exit speed, getting a good run there. Trying to outbrake an equal car into 17 is, boy, that's a tough one, because remember I talked about you kind of turn in and brake.
Right.
Well, as you turn in, you're pinching off that corner, the entry to that corner, so it makes it a little bit difficult. If you follow another car come in, that car turns in and then brakes, and you go just a little later, turn in a little later, kind of square the corner off a little bit and get it on a slightly different angle, you can actually outbrake the car as you're almost heading in the middle of the corner. That can work at times. It's a tough pass. I've done it. I've seen it done. I've seen it done around the outside as well. But a lot of times, if you can't get it done on that entry part, you really, again, got to be patient, focus on just getting a good exit out of 17 and think, we're going to set up the pass in 17, or into turn 1, I mean. And, the great thing about Sebring, again, is it's got a lot of passing zones, so you have to think ahead. A lot of times you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to set up a pass in turn 1 next lap. So you're really just kind of getting the car in position to get a maximum acceleration out of 17 so that you've got a good run into turn 1 or whatever. So you may be thinking about making passes half a lap or a lap later, but you start to set them up right now. So you got to think long term here at Sebring. The final thing I'd say is most of these races are decided in the last few laps. So you want to be there at the end.
Right.
You want to be there in position to take advantage of it. And if you're close at the end, then you got a shot at it. But if you make a dumb low percentage move early in the race, you're not even going to have that chance. So
Right.
that, and then again, fine, have some fun with it.
Now, earlier you were saying how even on simulators, there's some reference points that exist, but in real life, like you said, the mark on the bridge, that's what you use. So for us, how does simulator data compare to real life race data acquisition?
Well, I do a lot of coaching with drivers, and have them on their sim, and I'm looking at their data, and it's surprising how many times we've taken data from the car and then we take data from the sim, and I'll overlay them in Motec, and I'm kind of going, which one is the real car, which one is the sim lap? And sometimes, it takes a little bit of tuning of the car to get it to match the feel of the real car. But once you get that dialed in, it's sort of fractions of a second over the course of a lap at Sebring. And, there's a lot going on at Sebring. So it's, I find the simulation, very, very accurate, and using data is a great, it's just a great tool. And, the first time that I went, wait a minute, I can download data from my sim and actually start looking at that. This is awesome. So it's a great tool.
Right. Then, do you think simulated cars should always be 100% reliable, as in like no mechanical failures, or do you try to factor that in as well, if possible?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I've seen it have different rules around the sim race where, you're allowed one repair during the race. Well, in real life, you probably wouldn't have gotten that one repair. So, in a sprint race kind of a format. So sometimes I think, we should make this as real as possible, and there is no reset. And, if that means you've got to drive 0.3 or a second and a half slower per lap, well, got to figure out how to go faster another way, because that's real life.
Right. Now, last but not least, so rounding back out to our series is mostly grassroots drivers, and most of our coaching is actually done with someone right seating. But the real question is, for safety, how fast would you consider is too fast for someone right seating? Or is there even such a limit?
Well, I couldn't put it in, a mile per hour, kilometer per hour kind of a deal. I think it's to me, it's dependent on obviously it's dependent on how much trust you have in the driver. If the driver will listen to every single word and is able, not just listen to, but is able to follow the suggestions, commands, the communication coming from the instructor, that's one of the factors. I think the other factor is, what's the safety equipment on that side? Because, I have been asked to sit in the right seat of a car where I've got a driver that's in a full halo seat and Hans device and everything. And, it's kind of like, well, there's a 3-point harness in a production seat over there. Hop in. It's like, how is this fair?
Right.
So I think it's a little bit dependent on that. No, I'd say very much dependent on that. The other thing that kind of related to this though is, I do some work with drivers in a sim. Is one of the great things is that I can be in that car, simulated in that car with that driver, and if they have a crash, well, I didn't get hurt.
Right.
And I can coach them on the same techniques that I could if I was actually physically in the car with them. So that sim is a wonderful tool.
Right. Well, thanks a lot for taking time with us, Ross. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? What you're doing up to? What you want us to follow or check out?
Well, I just the sim racing stuff. It's wonderful to watch actually right now, and I don't get enough time myself to drive, but because I'm so busy doing coaching. And if anybody wants resources for anything, I mean, in fact, we have a virtual track walk video that myself and fellow coach Peter Kraus did of Sebring, and it's on my website at speedsecrets.com. In fact, I have a bunch of resources at speedsecrets.com. If you really, you want to become a better driver, I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of a question answer kind of a format. I've got a bunch of resources, ebooks that are free or $2.99. A lot of resources at speedsecrets.com. So go and check that out. And if you don't mind, follow me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, or Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. But, follow me there, because then I get to follow you back and I get to see what you're doing. I love watching and seeing what drivers are doing and who's doing what. So as I always say, keep learning and having fun. That's what this is all about.
Once again, many thanks to Ross Bentley from Speed Secrets for the generous time to show us around Sebring International Raceway, home of our season finale. Please check Ross Bentley's amazing material from his website and social media, links in the description below. Now, let's take a look at the official results from the last event, event number 5 at Imola. Val Di Pietro returns to the top of the podium, taking the first race and best qualifying lap at the event with a minute 43.521. Jordan Mazzugli and Doug Newman finished second and third respectively. For race number 2, however, things would drastically change on the podium, with Jackson de Oliveira taking his first win in the series, Stefan Bullock in second, and the famous controller-only Imani Makalalad taking third. For the first time ever, none of the season's top 3 points leaders would podium, so how does that fare for the points lead so far? Seems like Di Pietro has cemented the lead for first overall with 151 points, and Mazzugli comfortably in second with 101 points. The rest of the pack, however, is still a close quarters fistfight, with Steve Nyagovin in third at 53 points, Doug Newman in fourth with 45, and Joseph Yang within reach at 44 points. Nathan Hodgins is still within striking distance at 40 points, and Daniel Kokar close behind with 38. Jackson Oliveira watches carefully with 35 points because Gilbert Kaya has him square in the sights with just 6 points behind at 29. Rounding up the top 10 is Andrew Davis with 25. It's our final event. Who moves up? Who moves down? Who will finish atop of the pack with our first e-racing series? Let's go to the track and find out. Alright folks, welcome aboard. Again, many thanks to Ross Bentley for taking so much time to interview with us for the final event for the season. Again, I'm your host, Kevin Wong. So let's take a look and see what our drivers are up to. They've just got about 4 minutes left in practice time, so let's take a look at who's on. We've got Val Di Pietro, Doug Newman, Joseph Yang, Jordan Mazzugli, Chris Pazitsky, our current 2019 OTA real-life champion, Stefan Bullock, Justin Lim hasn't signed on yet, Jason Celli, Adrian Sazanaro, Mitch Morin, Andrew Vernon, Alex Mabini, Daniel Santabanez, Phil Oliveira from DriverMod.ca, Anthony Ho, Aaron Jack, Owen Howell, Brady C, Michael Puchik, Imani Makalalad, Miles Quartermine, Randy Zimmer, Paul Todd, and Giuseppe Castellano. So let's hop in with them and see what they're up to in practice. Again, folks, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6, our season finale. Looks like server is actually about to switch over to qualifying, but I think I'm having some technical difficulties again. Looks like everyone's decided to just pit their cars. I think we might be switching over, or a bunch of people are just changing their setups. This is a spec series, although the people are allowed to play around with their essentially their alignment, their tires, and everything. So we're currently in practice. There's still 7 minutes officially left in the time. So it looks like a bunch of people are pitted their cars. There we go. We're on board now with Joseph Yang. Take a look and see what he's up to. Joseph Yang is driving the Trackside Autosport livery. OTA does accept custom liveries. So if you do want to join us and play around with essentially how your car looks, by all means, join in and join our Discord, join our mailing server, and send us your livery, and we will post it up. For those of you that have not been to Sebring or don't know anything about Sebring International Raceway, it is the oldest permanent racing facility in North America. So it's been around for a very long time, has a lot of history behind it. Joseph Yang is an Ontario Time Attack regular. He is the current GT3 champion, and for the 2019 season. Let's hop in directly on board and see what he looks like driving. Again, folks, just joining us, this is practice, so folks are still getting used to their cars, the setup, the track. Oh, he's going a little bit sideways and into the wall. So we'll hop in with someone else. He's going back to pits to get a new car. On board now with Doug Newman. Doug is an experienced sim racer, and he's going to be showing us one lap around Sebring. For those of you that don't know Assetto Corsa, this is a custom map for Assetto. So this is actually a fan-made map. So unfortunately, the track description on the bottom right corner doesn't quite work, but the track for most part is fairly accurate. So this is the front straight that Doug is going through. Oh, Joseph Yang was reporting he's been driving with a punctured tire, so alright, fair enough. So Doug has just gone through turn 1. As Ross was saying earlier, turn 1 is supremely wide, but it narrows down to turns 2, 3, 4. So he's on turn 3 right now, the sharp right. And then remember, about flowing speed through 4 and into 5. So that's the key here, being that 5 leads in such a massive long straight into turn 6, which is really, it's officially labeled as a turn, but it is called, it's just a giant big bend, which is what the name is, the big bend. So going past the Mold 1 sign, he'll be going to the hairpin, turn 7, which on the map, if you look at it, it looks like not quite a hairpin, but really just flows like a normal hairpin, so that's the name. And use a little bit of dirt on the exit, there you go, just like Ross said it would. And coming out through 8, which leads into the section called Fangio, named after Argentinian driver, Fangio. He's won some very, very crazy races here at 12 Hours of Sebring. Going in to turn 10, and the little left that is called here. Going straight down into past 12 into 13 tower turn. And make sure not to hit the sand trap on the outside. That is not fun to hit that. You will slow down your car drastically. Past 14, which is not much of a turn, but now this is the tricky part, what Ross was saying on this turn here. 14 and 15 and 16. Oh, I'm sorry, this is actually, yeah, the 16, and making sure not to hit the sand pits on the outside. And one of the longest straights off the track before hitting the final turn, the signature turn of the track, Sunset Bend. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6, our season finale to Ontario Time Attack's e-racing series, Overtake the Apex. Doug is now dived in hard into the corner and rounded off it quite nicely, coming up with a lot of speed and right up against the wall on exit. Beautiful. Let's hop in with someone else. A lot of people are in the pits, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I guess people are just getting used to, have already pretty confident with their setup for the track. For those of you just joining us, this is a spec series, so everyone drives the same car. However, you are allowed certain alignment changes and a bunch of other small things with your tires, like tire pressures and whatnot. On board now with Chris Pazinski, our real-life Ontario Time Attack overall champion from 2019. This is, I believe, his second race with us, so not sure how much experience he has with Assetto Corsa on this, but he's a really good driver in real life. Glad we can have him with us. He's going down essentially the back straight, so going into Sunset Boulevard, turn 17. And spurring off the corner, and might have gone a little too hot. Again, one of the complaints I've heard from the drivers about turn 17. For those of you that race in iRacing or maybe have driven Sebring in real life, turn 17 is extremely bumpy, as what Ross was saying. So Assetto has managed to incorporate some of the bumps, but apparently it's not as bumpy as it should be. Going into turn 1 now. Again, that super wide corner, and suddenly narrows down into 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it'll be interesting to see during the race, actual race session, how our drivers will handle that, because it's easy to go maybe even 4 wide into 1, but then 3, 4, and 5 will really chop off the field. So that's again what Ross was saying. You gotta try to wind up in the last lap before you even think about winning the race. So no point in climbing up a few positions only to lose it on the exit of 1. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6, our season finale for Ontario Time Attack's e-racing series, Overtake the Apex. This is currently our practice session, so nothing of the times here count. The left leaderboard field that you see there It's just really the times obtained during practice. We currently have 50 seconds left in practice before the server will switch over into qualifying times. We haven't gone through now turn 12 into tower turn 13. Ooh, good exit right on the edge there. You don't want to be on the sand pits on the outside. I believe in real life that dirt is a real bummer because it'll just slow down your car a lot. I believe the Seto has managed to map that accordingly as well. Going to 14, 15, and 16. Ooh, a little hot there into 15. And then cutting into the air runway pavement on the left. And coming out of 16. I don't know who just took a excursion there off track, but Chris is catching him pretty fast. Again, if you screw up 16, you lose all that speed on the straightaway onto Sunset Bend, turn 17. Looks like that was Philip Oliveira. Ooh, he's going in a little... Yeah, he's going in hot. And Chris is going to chase him down a little bit. May have backed off again, try not to rear-end Phil. Looks like our server is officially in overtime mode for practice. What that means is, if any drivers are currently on a hot lap, they will be allowed to finish the lap in order to get just to get a better time. But the server admins should be switching over the server into official qualifying. Whoop, yep, Chris is pulling over, and looks like everyone else should be doing the same. Before we switch over to qualifying, let's have a quick word from one of our sponsors. Welcome back, folks. We're back now. Everyone has restarted and going back into essentially qualifying mode. Again, this is qualifying, not race, so people are still on their outlap trying to get in their best time possible in order to figure out what their grid position will be. So there shouldn't be as much wheel to wheel, but it looks like people are chomping at the bit to try to get ahead of each other to get some clean track in front of them. However, as what Ross was saying, the track can be pretty narrow in spots, so we'll see if everyone's patience can hold on till there's enough separation for everyone to get some clean laps in. Again, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6 for Ontario Time Attack's e-racing series, Overtake the Apex, for our season finale at event number 6 at Sebring International Raceway. For those of you that don't know Sebring International Raceway is one of the oldest road racing permanent road racing facilities in North America, and it's well known for the 12 Hours of Sebring, which is an endurance race, and multiple other series as well. We had a whoa! Anthony Ho's gone completely sideways. Looks like we're having some server lag there with some folks. Currently on board with Adrian Cesonaro. Let's see. Yeah, people are still trying. Again, this is qualifying, and people are still on their outlap, so they're trying to get in front of each other, yet try to get some clean track. But unfortunately, with everyone trying to climb on top of each other, it's still causing a lot of bunches happening. So we'll see how this works out. The official qualifying session usually takes place on Monday. Oh, looks like Adrian went in too hot. let's hop in with someone else. On board here with Val Di Pietro, our current season's points leader. Again, this is strictly the out lap, so nobody's actually put in a hot lap in. And everyone's chomping at the bit already, so let's see if they can just hold on with a little bit more patience and try to get a few good laps in. There's only 12 minutes left in qualifying, and these are long laps at Sebring. You're looking at around at least on the average 240, high 230s maybe, mid 230s if you're super fast. Anthony Ho's really getting the car sideways there. So let's see again. First lap. This is the first real lap for everybody. Going to turn 1. People are still keeping it clean for most part. And Val goes really... almost did... Yeah, probably dropped the wheel into the dirt there. And going to 3, 4, and 5. Coming out 5, a little bit of curb there. Interesting choice to mount the curb. Coming out flatter again. Remember what Ross said in a racing scenario. Coming out 5, you got to be really watching your mirrors and see what's around you because you're about to go into turn 7, which is the hairpin, and someone could easily dive bomb you. But there's a good chance of an over/under pass happening here because there is a kink after the hairpin, right about there, and should be mounting the curb and maybe even hitting a bit of dirt to maximize this flat out section from here all the way to turn 10, really. Going through a section known as Fangio, named after Argentinian racer Fangio. A little bit of 9 there, and into Cunningham, turn 10. Ooh, catching up with Paul Todd. So, interesting note for today's qualifying for grid is that a little bit sideways there. A little bit of lag issue from, looks like, between either Paul Todd or Val Di Pietro. But the interesting note about today's qualifying is that nobody might actually get very clean laps, so people will have to really bite their tongue and try to keep it clean in qualifying and not wind up in a terrible spot to begin with. Paul's conceding the outside line to Val Di Pietro, and he goes through turns 14, 15, and then remember the little pavement that Ross mentioned on the outside, and 16. Flat out using all the curb and none of the dirt, which is a good idea because dirt is a speed trap and will slow you down. So again, just under 10 minutes left in qualifying. So the laps averaging around two high 230s. This is going to be very few laps to actually get in for qualifying time. So looks like there you go. Laps times are starting to post up. Doug Newman is currently in pole, but let's see how Val Di Pietro does. Right, he was held up by traffic, so it looks like he's going to be in the 40s. But again, that's only his first real lap. Let's hop in with someone else. Let's hop in with Amani Makalad. And keep an eye on him. Amani is one of the few drivers actually driving with a controller as opposed to a steering wheel sim setup. So it's what you're seeing here is actually him on essentially a joypad, really. Amani's been with us for almost more than half the season. He was a bit of I think he joined in event number 2 or 3. And has quite a cult following on the YouTube chat the last few events. So again, folks, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6 at Sebring International Raceway. If you're watching us live on the stream, please feel free to mention some comments on the comment section. If you want us to follow a specific driver, if you want to ask questions for the driver's interview towards the end of the stream, feel free to post that. I will try to make sure to take note of it and ask them about it. Again, when you watch his hands when Amani's driving, that's actually all on controller. So, it's going to be real interesting to see how he handles all the tight sections going through here. I can't imagine driving on a on a controller, because the analog sticks, even though they are analog sticks, it just doesn't. I don't know how that relates to necessarily in a wheel. So it just does not feel natural to me. So even more respect for Imani for doing this with a controller. It looks like someone's off course there, but they're staying off course. Again, there's just over 7 minutes left in qualifying, so these are long laps at Sebring. With the current, Imani's just cut the track. Okay, interesting. And does he get a penalty? Again, this is a fan-made track, so unfortunately, it does not necessarily have all the full features that a Kunos map would actually generate. So we'll see what Imani winds up making of that. Coming through Sunset Bend, the last turn of the track. Ooh, going sideways. So now people are really starting to get that separation and putting in clean laps. So let's see what Imani winds up doing. 2:39. That moves him to 8th place. So let's watch someone else. Let's hop in with Miles Quartermine. Just starting a new lap, so he just went through turn 1 into 3, 4, and 5. Falling Imani. Oh, Imani's gone off track, so that leaves Miles a good, clean track in front of him. Driving the number 5 car with the OTA livery. Again, we do accept custom livery, so if you decide to join us for season number 2, you can submit your livery and send it in so we can make your car yours. Going through the hairpin, let's see how Miles handles that. Oh, might have gotten a little too hot. Yeah, going a little sideways. So unfortunately, this probably won't be his best lap. With just over 5.5 minutes left in qualifying, there won't be a lot of time left for everyone to really mess up a lap. So it's going to be interesting for race number 1, because the grid may not necessarily represent your fastest driver from top to bottom. So that'll be interesting. Again, for those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6 at Sebring International Raceway. I'm your host, Kevin Wong. We are currently left with just over 5 minutes left in qualifying for race number 1. We are at Sebring International Raceway, North America's oldest permanent road racing facility. On board here with Miles Quartermain, going into 14, and then cutting through 15, and using all of that extra track space on the left, possibly? Nope, he does not. He cuts through. Yep, he cuts through for 16. So unfortunately, because of the fact that this is a fan-made map and not as opposed to a Kunos sanctioned map, it feels like the map creator did not put any penalties for cutting through 16, so we'll see what winds up happening in the race. There was some chatter amongst the drivers that the map is lacking that penalty, so there seems to be a gentleman's agreement that unless you're really, really behind and there's no one in front of you, for safety purposes, we will not be allowed, or they will not be doing the cut. So we'll see how that agreement holds up. With just under 4 minutes left, let's hop in with, let's see, Castellucci. Just starting a fresh lap into turn 1. Again, look how wide turn 1 is. It's going to be very interesting to watch our drivers. And wow, full use of that track exit. Wonderful. It'll be interesting to see how many cars wide our competitors will decide to go into. Now it's turn 3. A little puff of dirt there, looks like. 4 and 5, about being patient through 5, Ross was saying. And should be flat out coming in, building him out all that speed into Big Bend, which is turn 6, which he's in right now, into turn 7, which is the hairpin. Good clean hairpin and flat out all the way through. Fangio section, turns 8 and 9. and using that extra curbing, and now going to 10, Cunningham. Again, careful not to get out the sand on the outside. As what Ross was saying earlier, turn 11 Collier, there you can choose to opt not to track out all the way to the left there on exit, which looks like Castellucci has opted to. Ooh, a little bit of understeer, looked like, but it could be lag. Seems like a few people are having lag issues today, folks. Going in through 14 and arrive. Oh, sorry, 14 going into 15 and 16. Ooh, a little too hot there and hits the dirt and slows down. So unfortunately, with just a minute 40 left, chances are Castellucci can only put in this lap and maybe at most one more lap. So looks like Val Di Pietro has currently jumped into pole with his minute 2:35.487, and Doug Nima has dropped to second at just 0.131 seconds behind. Sunset Boulevard currently, again, tricky corner because it really depends on how you feel like you want to drive your car through the bumpy section of turn 17. The bumps are sort of representative in Assetto Corsa. Unfortunately, I've been told by the drivers that it's not quite as bumpy as it ought to be. Let's hop on board with Alex Mabini. Again, probably on his last lap or second last lap with under a minute left in qualifying. Driving the blue number 8 car. Again, OTA does accept custom livery for your car, so if you decide to join us, feel free to design some livery and we will put it up on your car to make your cars yours. Going in through turn 14. Entering 15 through the wiggle, and let's see if he uses all that track on the left, and he does. To cut through 16, chasing Val Di Pietro in the green car in front of him. Looks like a clean exit. Let's see if Mabini manages to put in a new best with most likely what is his last lap. Yep, the timer's down to 0, so chances are this will probably be his last lap. '17 is an interesting corner. If you look on the track map, it's getting a little sideways there. Interesting. Unfortunately, he looks like he's behind on his 237. So actually, that actually moved him up a little bit. He's actually in the 7th place. So everyone's pulling over to one side. The server should be switching over to the official race for race number 1. Before we do that, let's have a word from one of our sponsors.
All of those miles, all of those hours, the late nights, the planning, the preparation, they all come down to this. That one perfect lap. We'll build the car, you win the race.
For Mr. Alex Lee, Subaru Impreza
NV Auto, building champions since 2010.
A higher degree of safety.
Since 1945, Toyo Tires has been making quality products. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. There's a Toyo adventure for those who dare to dream.
Looks like those tires are well tested.
Hey Matt, let's play.
For your drive, dare to dream. Toyo Tires.
Don't forget, folks, Toyo Tires currently has a spring sale. Save up to $70 off select sets of 4 tires from Toyo Tires. For more details, check out toyotires.ca/special offers. Okay, so it looks like a few people managed to put in some hot laps, and Val DiPietro actually has not does not look like he's in first place anymore for pole. So we're just getting ready for the main race, and let's see how this works out. Looks like Jordan Mazzugli actually managed to catch to Val the very last section, very last qualifying, and is now in pole. So let's take a look and see how this works out for everybody. Clean start, bit of crisscrossing in the back there. On board here with Jordan Mazzugli. Let's see how our drivers come out of turn 1. Pretty clean so far, but it really narrows down for turns 3 here, so let's see how this works out. No collisions so far, everyone's good. Yep, everyone's been keeping it very clean so far. Nothing. A little bit sideways action there by Jordan Mazzugli, currently in first position. He did manage to steal pole from Val DiPietro. Going into the hairpin. Let's see if anyone decides to do any crazy maneuvers here on lap 1. Again, no races won on lap 1, but the temptation is so high to try to dive bomb someone. It is very long laps here at Sebring compared to all the other tracks we've been to. At qualifying times, hitting the 2:30 something mark, so very long laps here. So going into turns 10. Val and Jordan are really digging a lot of people getting the car pretty sideways going entry, which is fun to watch. Ooh, a huge pile of cars coming in now. But no collisions. It's been very, very clean so far. No collisions. Back to the front of the pack, and let's see how people are exiting. Very, very clean. Yep, everyone's been very good so far. Nobody's been punted off. So coming on to 16. Oh, Anthony Ho is really getting that back end out there. Michael Pucci come by. Oh, that was not Anthony Ho. I think that was maybe Alex Mabini. Oh, some folks are really going the outside of. Yeah, people are forcing their way out. I guess better than collision, but so far nothing terrible. Going back to the top of the pack. Oh, looks like Val DiPietro's making a move on the inside of 17. On Jordan Mazzugli. Let's see how this works out. Val's holding that inside line. I'm not too sure if... Oh, no. They're probably side by side at this point. And DiPietro has taken the first place. That inside line has worked out for him. Pretty darn cool. Yep, but Jordan Mazzugli has managed to get a little bit more front end, straight end speed, so a little bit trading positions there. Let's hop in with mid-pack and see how the action is there. With Chris on board here, we're trying to follow Chris Pazinski, our 2019 real-life Ontario Time Attack overall champion. Let's hop in on board directly with him. Chasing down Alex Mabini. Going into turn 3. And Mabini is chasing down Stefan Bullock. So this is going to be very interesting to see how patience versus aggression pays off. 5 is where you get all the exit speed going into Big Bend, turn 6. And let's see if anyone decides to pull off that dive bombing that Ross Bentley was mentioning about in our turn-by-turn segment. Looks like Chris might be tempted, but no, he's falling back. Not enough speed to go through. Mounting all that curb on the right and all the curb on the left. And exit. So it's been very clean. Thanks to the fact that we're driving the GT86, no one's really walked away with us with a massive delta and gap. So right now between Jordan Zugli and to Chris Basinski, it's just under 6 seconds. Given that the lap time here ranges up to the high 230s, that's actually pretty good. So there's still a chance. If anyone screws up, it's still anyone's race. For those of you just joining us, wow, people are really getting sideways. Interesting approach for... I'll have to ask the drivers about that. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6, our season finale for Ontario Time Attack's e-racing series, Overtake the Apex. Folks, for those of you just watching on the YouTube live stream, please feel free to comment. Put any questions you want me to ask the drivers at the end of the race. I will try to get them as much as possible. I will try to have an extended drivers interview today, so if you have any questions about setups, you have any questions about sim racing in general, or even our real life series, with today's announcement by the Ontario government with the slow reopening, feel free to ask away, and we will try to answer them as best as possible. Coming down the front straight, the back straight, before hitting our last turn, turn 17. Everyone is still in this race. Nobody's actually been really punted off or any shenanigans really. So it's been a good race, clean race so far. That's always the fun part about driving a car that's relatively, considered slow, like the 86 is on a long track like this. Nobody can really walk away, so really adds a lot to the wheel-to-wheel and allows it to be anyone's race, really. On board back here with watching the 1 and 2, Jordan Bazugli is still being hounded by points leader Val Di Pietro. Going in through 3, 4, and 5. Clean, really clean so far. Just very, very happy with what we see here tonight, folks. People are going too wide into 5 and have kept it clean. Look who's driving the Tofu livery car. That looks like, I think, 10th place, Mitch Morin. So he's driving the Tofu delivery car from the initial D Fujiwara Tofu shop. For those of you that don't know, the A86 is essentially one of the most highly prized drift cars in the Japan drift scene, and the GT86 is essentially the official successor to it. So hence the 86 badging. Oh, looks like Di Pietro is trying to dive on the outside of the 10, but Jordan is really holding off on that. There's only just over 8 minutes left in the race time, so still lots of time left for Jordan to screw up, and Val is just patiently hounding him. Very clean race so far. Nobody's really out of it yet. So that's fantastic. Really, really good progression of drivers too from beginning of the season till now. Some of our drivers have done sim racing for a long, long time, and some of them are somewhat new to it, and some of them are completely new to it. So this has been a fantastic way to watch people develop over essentially 6 weeks, really. On the back straight now, watching Jordan Zugli still being hounded by Val Di Pietro, with Di Pietro just at 0.5 seconds behind Zugli, with a track time of around 2:30 something. 0.5 seconds is not much. Again, Val's opting to take that inside line, and I'm not really sure about that, because as Ross was saying, will that cut into your top end speed on this long straightaway into 1? But it hasn't seemed to have really penalized. Actually, in fact, the last lap by Di Pietro was only 0.2 seconds behind, so Di Pietro is finding a way to really cut down that lap time on the inside, which is interesting. Again, could be an exploit for the map too. This is a fan-made map. It's a very good fan-made map, but unfortunately, compared to other series like iRacing, it looks like Di Pietro has capitalized on an error made by Bazugli and has taken first place. And now Bazugli, oh no, Di Pietro has made a mistake, and looks like Bazugli has just retaken first. Watching the straight, it's 6 into the hairpin, and oh, it looks like Bazugli's made a mistake, and now they're we're having a really good battle here for first here between Mazzugli and DiPietro. Everyone else is still, for the most part, maintaining the pace, so nobody's out of it yet. DiPietro has managed to retake the lead. And... oh, now Joseph Yang is in the mix, as is Doug Newman. This is going to get interesting real fast, folks, with only just 5.5 minutes left in race time. That's roughly 2 laps. So, looks like players 3, 4, and 5 have entered the fight. Let's hop on board here with Joseph Yang. Right there up against Jordan Zugli, and Doug Newman is on the right. The little radar you see on the top of the screen there is the app called HeliCorsa. It allows our drivers to see left and right of them immediately. So unlike real racing where you can just look over to your right and left windows, you can't do that so much with virtual racing, because unless you have 3 oh, looks like Justin Lim has now overtaken Joseph Yang, so this is a 5-way fight for first place. Coming down the back straight into the last corner, turn 17, Sunset Boulevard. The trickiest corner of the course in real life and in this track as well, because Val DiPietro's opted for inside line, which is really interesting. Oh, it looks like Joseph Yang may have overcooked the entry on that, but has now pulled it back in. And looks like a few other people are trying to follow Val DiPietro's inside line. Maybe not as aggressively, however. Val really starts to cut that inside out line. So Joseph is hunting down Justin Lim, who is hunting down Doug Newman, who is hunting down Jordan Mazzugli, and Val DiPietro is currently in first. Everyone is still, for most part, in this race, folks. So nobody's been punted off. The race has been extremely clean. We've seen 2 or 3 cars wide into sectors 15, turns 15, and even out of 5. So it's really amazing to see the progression by some of these folks that have been racing us for 6 weeks now. Some folks have been doing sim racing. Folks like Doug Newman, Jordan Mazzugli have dedicated sim rigs, and some others are fairly new at this. It's pretty fun to watch people really take on to virtual racing over this whole pandemic situation. So hats off to everyone for the driver progression. It does translate, as what Ross said, into real life. So hopefully a few folks will come on out to our real life series and join us at track. With just over 3 minutes left in the race session, let's see how our... whoa, there's a big fight. Doug Newman just took the inside, just tried to dive inside, and did not work on Val DiPietro. And looks like Justin Lim has made a mistake and went wide, and Joseph Yang has capitalized on it. Again, with this track and these cars, nobody can really walk away. So Justin Lim might still be in the fight for the top 5 with just under 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. One small mistake, that's all it takes. It's a long track with average times of around the high 2:30 mark, so 2:37, I believe, is currently the best race pace, or 2:37, 2:36. For those of you just joining us, welcome to race number 1 of event number 6 of Ontario Time Attack's e-racing series, Overtake the Apex. With just over 2 minutes left, they're entering the back straight towards turn 17, Sunset Boulevard. Let's see how Joseph Yang decides to do this. Chasing down Doug Newman. Jordan Mazzugli has retaken the first place with Val DiPietro. Oh, Val has opted to take the outside line now. Interesting. I guess he's really trying to build up that straightaway speed to pass Mazzugli. But Doug Newman seems to be catching up with DiPietro. Yep, currently our race pace is at 2 minutes and 37 seconds, so it'll be interesting to see how this is likely the last lap of the race with 1:25 left. Coming out of turn 1, nice convoy there. It's a 5-way battle for 4-way battle so far. Justin Lim is slowly catching up, but it's a 4-way battle right now for your podium position. Doug Newman is really trying to gain in on Val DiPietro, And unfortunately, the fun part about the GT86 is that with the perceived lack of power, nobody's really walking away. We're not driving, GT4 cars here. So one mistake and it's not like your race is over. Justin Lim, who actually went wide and Joseph DeYang overtook him, is still currently in the mix and not too far behind in the rearview mirror. So lots of opportunities left. For those of you watching on the YouTube stream, please feel free to chime in with comments, questions you would like to ask the drivers. I will be interviewing drivers after race number 2. Feel free to ask them how the season went, what their sim setups are. We have a lot of veterans sim racing folks here. It's really a clean race so far. No one's been taken out. Mistakes that have been incurred have been mostly self-inflicted. And that's in fact what's been causing the lead changes here between Di Pietro and Mazzugli. And Doug Newman has kept it clean. He qualified 3rd, so he's actually managed to hold on to 3rd, even though everyone went in a massive conga line in turn 1 on the first lap. As I was saying earlier, everyone's really been managing to keep it very, very clean through this section here, 15 and 16. Everyone's opting to take the extra track width on the left and flat out through the exit. Let's hop in with Val Di Pietro and see how he handles this last corner. Remember we were saying earlier, he's taking an odd line on the inside, but the last 2 laps he's been taking it. Yeah, this is the final lap, so folks, this is right down to the finish. Let's see if Doug Newman's really coming in behind, but Doug's had to back off a little bit. Oh, is Val gonna get that extra exit speed out? I don't think so. Looks like, yep, there you go. Jordan Mazzugli has taken race number 1 with Val Di Pietro taking 2nd, Doug Newman, Joseph Yang, Justin Lim, Chris Pazinski finished 6th, Alex Mabini in 7th, Michael Puchik in 8th, Stefan Bullock in 9th, and Mitch Morin in 10th. There are your top 10, folks. Daniel Santiban is just right behind on 11th, missing out the top 10. So the server will be switching over into race number 2, where the top 10, which I just mentioned, will be reverse gridded. So while this race wraps up, we'll have a quick word from one of our sponsors.
Don't be conventional.
Kevin Harvick?
Be exceptional. Upgrade to Mobil 1 synthetic motor oil. It helps your engine last over 250,000 miles.
Wow. What's he doing?
Raving.
He's exceptional.
So is Mobil 1. Yes.
Is this good?
I do not know.
Get 250,000 miles of protection. Upgrade to Mobil 1.
Welcome back, folks. So just to recap, race number 1, Jordan Mazzugli takes 1st place, followed by Val Di Pietro, Doug Newman, Joseph Yang, Justin Lim, Chris Pazinski, Alex Mabini, Michael Puchik, and now it's Stefan Bullock and Mitch Morin. So now the race has been gridded in reverse. That's why you see Mitch Morin in first, starting in the pole position. So let's take a look at our drivers for now race number 2. For those of you just joining us, welcome to event number 6. The countdown is on. We're here at Sebring International Raceway. Let's watch the launch and see how this goes. And we're go! Coming out of turn 1, Oh, it looks like Alex Mabini's hopped into first place. Nobody's been... Yep, we had a clean turn 1, 2, and 3 segment. Let's see how everyone makes it to the 3, 4, 5. Wow, 3 wide sometimes into 3. Alex Mabini's holding on to first place currently. Oops. Going into 5 and 6 into Big Bend. On board here with Michael Puchik, watching Alex Mabini going into the hairpin. Ooh, that's some closing in pretty hard on Alex Mabini, but had to back off. Stefan Bullock in the Trackside Autosport car is right behind him. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Going into turn 10. Oh, it looks like Michael Puchik has gone off track, and looks like everyone's avoiding him properly, and he's not holding up traffic, which is great. Alex is now starting to walk away, thanks to that little mistake. So everyone behind him has had to back off. So Alex is trying to make the hay while the sun shines, and try to gap as much as possible with the GT86 car in play. No one's really got the power to really walk away with one mistake, so it's somewhat forgiving in this track, especially with track times of in excess of 2.5 minutes. Going into the 15-16 section. Oh, looks like Mitch Morin is really hounding Michael Puchik on the outside there. Yep, wow, we're going three wide on exiting 16, so coming down the back straight, heading towards Sunset Boulevard. Or Sunset Bend, rather. Yep, lots of everyone's. Here we are with race leader Alex Mabini in first place. Pretty clean through Sunset. Yep, everyone's keeping it very, very clean. This has been a fantastic race to watch, folks. Let's hop in with Chris Pazinski, who's been battling it out with Jordan Bazugli. On board here with Chris Pazinski. A little bit of contact there with Joseph Yang, but both competitors keep it on the track. Going into turn 3, Joseph takes the inside, and Chris decides to trail back behind Joseph. 5 is where Ross Bentley was saying you gotta have the patience, but still attack it, because it leads into Big Bend, which is a massive straight into the turn 7, the hairpin. So let's see what Chris plans to do. He's being hounded by Doug Newman, who did finish 3rd in the race number 1. Oh, looks like Chris may have overslowed a little bit. I think he was trying to possibly dive in this on the apex, but decided to back off at the last minute. Doug Newman is trying to draft behind Chris Pazinski, as you see in the rearview mirror. And looks like Doug's making a move on the outside, but nope. Chris has opted to stay tight. And Doug is now creeping in on the outside, on the right side, in through. Yep, and it's past Chris. Going into turns 14 here on the left bend. Let's see if Chris can pick up some room there with Doug. Into 15. May have actually beaten Doug in that section there, because he did close the gap down a little bit. There's a massive battle happening from essentially 8th all the way through. Oh, it looks like Joseph Yang may have had a little bit of contact there with Michael Puchik, or Michael Puchik may have slid out on his own. Not sure what happened there. Doug Newman's exit speed on 16 seems to have pulled away from Chris Pazinski here. Let's hop in on board and watch Doug Newman. Going in through 17. He's taking the inside line like Val Di Pietro was earlier. So 3 wide into 17. Michael Puchik and Joseph Yang. Oh. Not sure. Oh. Looks like Doug is serving a penalty. That's unfortunate for him. There's only 9 minutes left. So let's hop on board with Joseph Yang, who is holding on to 5th place, going to turn 1. Oh, Joseph Yang dives on the inside and overtakes. Oh no, Michael Puchik, sorry, and Val Di Pietro. Oops, thanks for the reminder. I didn't realize I had the banner on the bottom there. Michael Puchik makes a mistake on exit of 5, and Val Di Pietro takes advantage of that. And Joseph Yang is still in the fight for 5th place. And with Chris Kwasinski hounding in 8th. Chris has been very consistent in that position, so not sure what happened to Doug Newman earlier. He just decided to drive right into the pit, so maybe he's serving a penalty or has car problems. With just under 8 minutes and 20 seconds left in race time, your average race lap is about 2:36, 37, so this just leaves under 4 laps left in this second race for event number 6 at Sebring International Raceway. Looks like we're having a fight with Jordan Mazzugli and Stefan Bullock in 3rd and 2nd, so let's hop in with that. For those of you watching on the live stream, please feel free to put some questions for our drivers at the end of the race. I will be interviewing drivers, essentially trying to see what makes them tick, what they thought of the course, and how they wound up approaching all the corners of today's race. So feel free to put some questions, or if you want me to focus on a specific driver, feel free to put that in the comments. Going into Sunset Bend. On board here with Jordan Mazzugli, chasing down Stefan Bullock. Jordan did finish 1st in the last race and was graded for 10th to start race number 2, so he's managed to climb 7 positions up for position number 3. Justin Lim is behind him in 4th, with Di Pietro in 5th. With just over 6.5 minutes left, Jordan decided to take the inside on Bullock and succeeds on the pass. Keeps it clean. Now going to turn 3, and Stefan looks like he's gearing up to go on the inside on him in the rearview mirror. A question from the crowd: how is Imani's driving? Let's hop in with him then. Imani started. I think Imani didn't finish in the top 10 last race, so he is in 13th, which probably means he's still where he started the race, or finished the race in race number 1. Chasing down Paul Todd and Andrew Vernon there. I think Imani's been keeping it clean. It's just that he hasn't been able to really capitalize on any big mistakes made by anyone. The whole race tonight has been very, very clean. A few people have gone off track and a few people have gone sideways, but no one's really been punted, or there have been many reviewable incidences. We'll still have to review the race at the end of the night to confirm nobody's going to be given any penalties. But from what I can see from the commentator's view, it's been very, very clean. Oh, he's making a pass on Paul. No, that was probably a little bit of lag there. Looked like he was gaining on Paul Todd, but didn't. Going into... coming across the bend in 14. Or sorry, 10. That was turn 10. Into 12. Coming into 13. And again, Paul's still driving very clean. Imani's aggressively riding the curbs and maximizing full track exit. Try to see gain whatever he can on Paul Todd, but nobody's really walking away, but nobody's really gaining massively either. So it's keeping the race fairly close. With just 4 minutes and 46 seconds left in race number 2, probably means just under 2 laps left. So Josh Jones, I hope that answered your question. Imani hasn't really been driving bad per se. It's just that he's been having nobody else has been driving bad either. So it's been very difficult for him to make a pass. Everyone's been keeping it very, very tight. Interesting line on the inside of turn 17. Paul is going really wide. Now Imani's really starting. Oh, Imani might be picking. Yep, Imani is gaining on Paul. Unfortunately, a bit of lag there. It's hard to tell sometimes when a gain's really happening with that lag. He's definitely gaining from the lap times. Imani is definitely faster at 0.7 seconds faster, in fact. Looks like some of the folks are having CPU latency issues. That's unfortunate. I don't know. I can't quite tell. There's at least 17 cars left in the field. We did start with 28, so I'm not sure how many people had to leave due to latency issues. Still having a pretty tight race so far. The top 17. That's right. Logic has won. It has been fantastic to watch how people have developed over the 6 weeks we've run this season. Really proud of you guys because it looks like we had a bit of lag issue there, unfortunately, folks. That's part of the deal with online racing, unfortunately, with internet. We're on board now with Justin Lim, chasing down Joseph Yang in 5th place. Stefan Bullock is still in 4th. And Chris Brzezinski is moved up to 8th place. Fighting. Oh no, he's dropped down to 9th, fighting out with Michael Pichek there. Val Di Pietro is currently still hunting down Jordan Bazugli, who's still chasing down Alex Mabini. Alex did not start in pole, if I recall correctly. It was Mitch Morin, and Mabini has managed to climb on top to pole and is now desperately holding on to first place with just 2 minutes left in the race. Yeah, we'll hop onto the front of the pack towards the end of the race. There's still at least 1 full lap left to go. So just watched Alex Mabini go through. We're chasing now Jordan Bazugli. Jordan did finish first in race number 1 and is trying to cement his series position for points in position number 2. With the win in race number 1 and race number 2, he should be able to really hold on to that. In terms of points overall, Di Pietro has pretty much cemented the win for the series. Bazugli is now, with the win in race number 1, is going to hold on to number 2. The real question is who finishes 3rd, 4th, and 5th for the series. Let's take a quick look at Stefan Bullock driving the Trackside Autosport livery car. Again, for those of you new to Ontario Time Attack E-Racing Series, he's chased by Joseph Yang, his teammate. So the 2 Trackside Auto livery cars are back-to-back. Hopefully they don't take each other out in fighting for a position. But Ontario Time Attack E-Racing Series does accept custom liveries. So if you decide to join us for season number 2, we will accept that and let you make your car yours. All right, we're getting close towards the end here. Let's keep an eye on Alex Mabini, who climbed to first place in lap number 1 and is still currently held on to first place so far. Very, very clean driving, error-free by Mabini there. Going into turns 13. Very, very clean. Beautiful exit there. And Jordan's getting a little sideways on exit, trying desperately to see if he can make up 2.7 seconds, or actually growing. So around 2.8 seconds between him and Bazugli. Between Mabini and Bazugli. Coming in through 15. And last sector 16. Not using the full left side curb there, or left side track out, but making full use of the left side curb on exit. And that little bit of English there by Bazugli on the exit might be costing him time. Coming down the front straight. Yeah, this is the final lap, so watching on board here with Alex Mabini. Yeah, it looks like Jordan Bazugli is chasing him down, but on the inside line there, but nope. Mabini has taken this race. There you go. Alex Mabini takes first place. Jordan Bazugli takes second. Valdi Pietro finishes in third. Stefan Bullock and Joseph Yang fourth and fifth, respectively, in the Trackside Autosport cars. And Justin Lim in sixth. Barring any instances here, Michael Puchik should finish in seventh. But there's a whole cluster coming down with Mitch Morin, Andrew Verne, and Chris Mazinski. Wow, that was really close. And Paul Todd and Miles Portmain and Daniel Santabanez in 13th. So there you have it, folks. That's our top 10 for the race. Alex Mabini, Jordan Bazugli, Valdi Pietro, Stefan Bullock, Joseph Yang, Justin Lim, Michael Puchik, Mitch Morin, Andrew Vernon, Chris Blazinski are your top 10. So please stick around, folks. I'm just going to post a quick video about Ontario Time Attack. Our season might just be starting soon. We'll make announcements about that. But we'll post a quick video about Ontario Time Attack while I wrangle up some drivers and conduct some drivers' interviews.
Time affects our lives, shapes our future, and defines our world. Every hour, every minute, every second. But in Time Attack, it's hundredths of a second that matter. Separating first place from the pack, the winner from the could-have-beens. Originating on the racetracks of Japan, Time Attack has grown into one of the most important and exciting motorsports available today. The goal is to set the fastest lap time on the racecourse using any vehicle, balancing engine power and reliability with driver skill and courage.
When you're in the car, the G-forces are phenomenal. You've got to balance the car properly. You're always pushing for that extra tenth of a second.
Ontario's premier Time Attack series holds events across the province each summer. Morning practice followed by competition runs all afternoon. 3 grueling time sessions.
We are on track with other cars, but we're not actually racing that car. We're always racing the clock. So you're out there all day, essentially to just bust off one really fast lap.
Each class has a technical spec, from stock street-legal cars to those with high-performance brakes and tires, all the way up to fully modified or prepped racing machines. With vehicle differences out of the equation, it's down to driver nerves and technique to seal the final outcome. Without distracting wheel-to-wheel competition, lap times are usually faster than the race divisions. But the biggest wow factor? When a racer lays down a lap time that not only beats competitors in his own class, but blows the doors off the classes above him.
A big part of it is the speeds you get up to. The back straight at Mosport, you're going over 200 kilometers an hour. When you get to that corner at the end, you know you got to take that corner to 140 kilometers an hour or you're going to be falling behind.
Every lap counts, every corner counts. Your laps have to be very consistent.
In Time Attack, you're always pushing, testing the car and yourself, like driving a never-ending qualifying lap. One mistake, and your time session's over, in the blink of an eye. Time rules all of our lives, but on the track, it's your job to beat time. Are you up to it? Experience Time Attack. Breathe it. Live it.
It was fun.
Oh my god, it was close.
Don't forget
It was-
Joseph as well. Joseph was in
Yeah,
there.
Joseph was right in the
Giving us
middle
a
of it,
hard
too.
time as well. Yeah.
But yeah.
A little bit of like compensation slash rubber banding down the straights, and then sometimes in the corners, the game tries to. It seems like it tries to avoid putting cars together, and then tries to like sort it out a few seconds later. So every time I think that I've got a run on Jordan, or I've got like the corner, he'll just like get nitrous boosted right up beside me, and I gotta
Yeah,
like evasive.
it's elastic. Like even when Val was ahead of me coming out of turn 4, I actually had to hit the brakes because I thought I was going to go back into his bumper, and I was actually like, inside of his car at one point, and nothing happened. I was amazed, and then I was able to get a good run off of that. Like it was just this weird like elastic. It's like the cars are joined together by like bungee cords or something.
It's so rude too. Like you go, you lift, you brake, you avoid the contact, and the game was like, oh no, he was actually accelerating the whole time, and then you gained like 10 feet.
Yeah, there's sometimes when I was following trying to get the camera to follow one of you guys. It's like, oh look, he's got the inside. No, he doesn't. He just starts pulling away. So I guess
really wayward. Yeah. Really wayward at some points.
These cars don't draft very well. I was really hoping for like a good draft effect, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, Chris Brzezinski was trying to employ a lot of drafting there when he was in 8th place. He was fairly consistent. I think at when I was watching him at 8th and to all the way to 10th place, he's trying to draft, and I didn't see any real benefits from drafting. So I guess it's the physics in the car.
Yeah, I don't know.
Weird.
Just slow cars. Any benefit from drafting? Like I had some really good runs, and following someone, I didn't see a change in pace.
But congratulations to Alex Mabini for essentially taking first place in race number 1. Essentially took race position number 1 in lap 1 and never looked back. Really, is he on board here?
Yeah.
Hey, there you
right
go.
Here.
Hey, perfect.
I actually don't know why I got queued up really up high. I think I was queued up like 4th or 5th or something like that.
Well, it's reverse gridded from race number 1.
Yeah, I think I got like 7th place or so in in race 1, and I got queued up so high. So.
But hey, you didn't make any mistakes, so you deserve to win.
Man. Like honestly, like I was starting to get closer at the end, and just like I couldn't get there. Like you were very, very consistent.
Yeah, you kept it very
clean. but it was yeah. Thanks, man. There was nobody in front of me, so I might as well drive a little, conservative, right?
Oh, for sure. Honestly, like that's what I was doing with Val right behind me. I was just like, I'll like nurse it through this corner, just like protect the inside, It's more about.
Oh, sorry, Jordan. I think we lost you. Yeah.
Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you're there. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, no, I was saying like even like during race 1, like with Val and I, like when we were battling, like even when he's right above my bumper, it's consistency's key, right? It's like you're not trying to go 100% through every corner, 110%. Like you'll make mistakes. So it's like if you have a good enough room ahead, it's like okay, I'll like nurse it into this corner a little bit, try to protect the inside, so at least like I can have like a safe exit, more than
exactly.
More than just kind of just going 110% all out, right? Because that's where you make errors.
Yeah, it's pretty much you're fighting against yourself, right? So.
Where did you finish in race 1? Alex.
Sorry, what now? Oh, I finished like 7th or so, 7th place.
Up 5th. Interesting.
Yeah, because you were right on pace.
It was a little weird.
In race 2, you were right on pace, like with Val and I. Like you were putting in good time, so. It was really good. It was really close.
In terms of lap times,
race 2 was great.
Yeah, in terms of lap times, you guys were very, very close. If you rewatch the stream, you guys were very, very close. Within, like, considering that everyone's race lap times were around the 2:36 mark, everyone from I think 1 to 10 was within a second of each other.
Oh, like, very nice.
It's very, very tight. So it made for some points when you guys were like neck and neck. Nothing really happened, but the thing is, nobody ever walked away either.
Oh, it was close racing the entire time.
Yeah, it was crazy considering how few laps you guys put in, but it was no one ever walked away. Is Justin here? Justin Lim? Unfortunately, he's not. He is not. But how do you guys find the track compared to like? Is this how many guys have you guys actually first of all driven on Sebring, both either in sim or in real life, and how did you find that today?
Val, I guess, could speak to it more. Like for me, the last time I drove Sebring was Forza Motorsport 2, like maybe I don't know what 10 years ago. So let me take it for what it is. I know Val has a lot more experience in like iRacing and stuff in different sims, so I know he can comment.
I'm curious as to what differences you noticed from Forza.
To be honest, I found the last corner is way bumpier in Forza. Like that concrete, like the concrete pads, like it's way bumpier.
What about the dip on the second last corner?
Yeah, that too.
That's so weird.
Like it's so weird.
Yeah, I could never figure that one out.
On 16, which dip? On the apex?
Before the back straight.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a weird dip, like maybe 3/4 of the way through the corner, and it's like super big, like right out the apex. But if you're a little bit wider, it's a lot less.
Did someone say my name?
Oh, Justin? You there?
Oh, Justin.
Yeah, my brother just told me you guys called.
Oh yeah, no worries, all good. We're on the driver's interview on the stream. I was just gonna ask you because you had a very close race there on race number 2, and then unfortunately you went a little wide and couldn't recover because we're just seeing how close it was. Because even though I think you hit the dirt on turn 10 on turn 10, and then you managed to hang on for 5th in race number 1, I believe.
Oh yeah. So what happened with that one is I saw Joseph Yang behind me, and I was staring in my rearview mirror.
Oh.
And that was a big mistake. So.
Yeah, I knew that's what happened.
Yeah, I think I braked a little bit past the 100 marker, where usually I brake before it, so that cost me that.
Well, unfortunately, the thing is, you still managed to get back on track very cleanly, and then pretty much hold on for the rest of the race, I think. So,
yeah, I'm surprised with my performance, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Great work. I mean, it's really, the best part I was saying during the stream too, and it's a lot of guys were saying on the comments, on the YouTube comments, is that everyone kept it clean, right? I think at one point there were 3 wide into 3 at one point, and then 4 wide into 1 at one point.
Yeah, like 3, 4, like lap 2, we were still like all together.
Okay, no one. You should not be this close in lap 2. Like, oh man.
I thought we were through all like the mess, and then it's like, oh no, they're still here. It's lap 2.
Yeah, but hey, nobody. I don't, as far as I could tell, like from the camera view, and this time I hung around the corners a little longer than I did last race, and watched the whole train go through, and nobody really got punted off. There was some slight incidental contact, maybe, but nobody really got punted.
Like there was a slight bump, I think, going through turn 1. Like on the first lap, I got pushed a little bit on the side, but I kind of just caught the slide and kept going. Which is another nice thing about the 6 is, unlike the GT3 and the GT2 cars for the last couple of races, like if you get bumped, you spin. Like there's no catching it really.
Right.
Whereas this car, like it's playful, but it also, because it's slower and it has really good balance. It's very easy to catch a slide or fix an error, like very way more forgiving, let's say.
Yeah, no, it made
about
for
this car is that it's mostly it doesn't depend on aero. So if the tire lifts, it doesn't really just swing around. With cars with mechanical grips, like if it goes through bumps, it doesn't really get upset that much.
Yeah, but towards the second race, was it 8, 9, and 10? I think it was Chris Basinski. Oh my God! Now I forget. I wish I took a photo of but there was 8, 9, 10 were, I think, within a quarter of a second of each other, because they almost crossed the line at the same time. And obviously Aceto called out who was 8th, 9th, and 10th. But that was a big bunch coming through as well. So that was fun watching everybody keep it clean through sunset. Val, you were taking a very weird line through 17 for I think half of race number 1. You kept it essentially inside, and then out.
Yeah,
that was a good line, because I had a really slow exit at it. I had a really slow exit.
Yeah, that's what I take in iRacing, where you turn the car towards the corner and then you brake real hard in a straight line, and then you turn in a second time and keep.
It's because Ross does talk about taking 17 where you can square off the corner and for a pass, which is interesting.
Wait, we talking about the last corner or second last?
Last corner.
Yeah, last corner. Because it decreases a lot. So if you turn in once at full, I guess in this car full power, then you can have a straight braking zone and then focus on one corner.
Yeah, because what I was doing was I was turning in off the straight and like kind of staying, like just turning in and then hitting the brakes and kind of trailing down into 4th and 3rd gear and using the engine deceleration. But I was staying more in the center of the corner, and basically when I crossed the bridge, I would go full throttle in 3rd and kind of power out. But I was having, I guess, staying on the further outside, I was doing more steering towards the exit. So I was getting more slip angle from the rear end, so my exit speed actually wasn't as good. When I changed my line to Val's line, Because if you're cutting in inside more, like you're kind of pointed more straight out at the exit, you could like the power. Once you are on the power, you're going straight ahead. You don't have that slip angle, so you're just getting more forward momentum.
Huh. Interesting. Because when I saw Val take that on literally lap 1, take that line, I'm going inside. Oh, okay. The exit speed Jordan might have Val, and then I'm like,
Yeah,
nope,
nope,
side by side.
Because he literally, I just hear him pop up. You were really slow out of the exit of that corner. I'm like, yep, pretty much.
I mean, like there was like 7+ car lengths on your apex, and there's no way that can be helping.
No, for sure.
Right. That was fantastic racing by everybody. It was just a great way to end the series because end the season, I should say, because we like a lot of the guys that we had in tonight's race have been with us since race number 1, right? And to watch the progression by everybody has just been fantastic. So,
I agree.
Even the consolation race was really clean.
Really, I didn't get to watch that, unfortunately, with the stream starting earlier today.
I had an issue with that. Val said not to leave it in first gear when you start.
Right.
Like when it switches over or when the race goes active. So I had it in neutral the whole time. And then when the lights started to go red, I put it into first and I had my foot on the clutch. And then I immediately got a penalty to drive through before the race even started.
Clutch all the way down?
Yeah, it was weird.
I was gonna say, I've had the clutch shove it in first, and I've had like no problems. Like
is that why you went into pits there, Doug?
Yeah. So I tried to keep racing so that I could just let the field spread out a bit.
Right.
Because it gave me a 2-lap.
That sucks.
Yeah. So when I went in there, and I've never driven through a drive-through on this sim, and being in VR, it showed the pit box as my place. So I was like, oh, it wants me to stop and go. So I actually stopped and waited for the penalty to clear, but it never did until I actually left the pit fully. So yeah, I probably wasted at least a good minute in there.
I don't know why that happened to you, because that's how I start every single race. If you have it in gear before the lights come on, you instantly get a drive-through because the car will just sort of like judder forward.
Yeah, I usually just like, and then I peel, maybe honestly, Doug, like it might be your like your dead zone on the clutch, like just add a little bit of dead zone on the top, so like you can like you just have that like fully depressed, you know.
Oh,
so
I do. Yeah, I have it like 80%.
Yeah, because it's so weird for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was a great race to end the series, guys. I hope you guys stick around. We'll still have the weekly races, maybe not the stream ones. Joe still wants to keep the weekly races going, so we'll have weekly races. They just won't be streamed. But we'll take 2 weeks off officially for the stream stuff to kind of gather our wits and then figure out how we want to proceed with the season number 2, because our real life series, with today's announcement by the Ontario government, might be kickstarting. We don't know yet. So we'll make announcements for season number 2, and then we'll go from there. But thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you guys had fun.
No, thank you so much for Kevin and Joe for putting this on in OTA. It's been very, very fun.
Yeah, guys.
Been looking forward to it every week, so it's been really awesome.
All right, thanks.
That was all worth it.
Yeah, that was definitely all worth it, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's the end of our first e-racing season. Official results to be posted on our Facebook and Instagram pages by Monday. Many thanks to our server host, Pinnacle Advanced Driving Academy, for hosting all of the events. Ontario Time Attack would also like to thank all of our other sponsors as well: Automoves, Toyo Tires, NV Auto, JRP, and Mobile One. But last but not least, you, our viewers and fans, for keeping the season going in spite of the fact that we're unable to go to the track in person. Many thanks to Ross Bentley for taking so much time to sit with me around Sebring. For those of you who don't know, he has written 9 amazing books on how to approach performance driving, and his website is chock full of great paid and free material. Check him out at speedsecrets.com. Links in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget to give us a like and smash the subscribe button to follow us for future streams and videos. Be sure to hit the bell button to receive notifications on when we have new content. Follow us on social media to find out when our real season will begin, and for our future